Good evening and welcome to Face for the Newsfirst team. I'm Niresh Eliathambi. I'm pleased to welcome back to our studios Mr. Arun Hemachandra, who is now the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Employment. Welcome, Arun. Welcome back. Good evening. You have, of course, been very busy and you are one of those regular people on our programs. But it's been some time since we saw you because of all your official duties, although you have been in constant touch with us. So, Arun, what's it like? Now you've been Deputy Minister in a very key ministry for several months. What is it like going from where you were battling in the election campaigns and now you are suddenly in the government establishment, having to sort out a lot of things, and it's been a steep learning curve as well, right?
Well, first of all, good evening, Niresh, and thanks a lot for inviting me once again. I think you kept on inviting me for a very long time, but due to the busy schedule, I was unable to fix a time. But then again, I decided to come to the show today. It's a good beginning. In a sense, I would like to say the term new is, I don't think that is applicable here. We are in politics and we were functioning since before. All the 159 MPs, those who have been elected this time, were working at a certain platform for a considerable period. And especially the political platform, yes, there are some people, they were working in their own, maybe non-political platforms. Maybe let's say if he's a professor, maybe to be a professor in Sri Lanka, it takes so long. And in that particular sector, he's well experienced, and especially with the administrative and all the other fields, they are experts. Only thing is, we are new to this particular, as you mentioned, establishment. But that does not mean that we are new to politics or maybe new to administration, maybe managing something. We have experience, but then again, this is something new, of managing an establishment. But then again, I don't think we don't have any major challenges as such. All of us are capable, especially for me, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Employment have been given as Deputy Minister. So I'm doing my best. There are a lot of problems that we are sorting out, especially the ones that took place in the past. When it comes to foreign employment, it's in a utter mess. So we are trying to organize everything, and also when it comes to foreign affairs, we are trying our level best to maintain the best diplomacy as much as we can. It's about diplomacy at the end of the day.
Right. Now, Arun, our foreign service isn't something that has stood out over the years as being a fabulous foreign service doing wonderful things for the country. It was more like, well, it's our foreign service, it's just there. And of course, we had in several previous regimes, we had so many political appointees being sent not to some nondescript little country, but to major countries, major partners, global partners. I mean, we are talking USA, UN, UK, some of the European countries, and so on. And these political appointments raised a lot of eyebrows. And of course, it was one promise of the NPP that this would be professionalized. And so I gather most of those people, or all of them, have been recalled, and now professionals are being put in place? Could you comment on this?
Yeah, I can answer this question in a deeper way. Now, any countries do have their ratios when it comes to diplomat appointments, either 100% career diplomat, or maybe they follow a certain ratio. So usually most of the countries do have that ratio. So ratio matters. Does not mean we cannot simply we can simply neglect that. So what happened in the past is like they were not even considering about the ratio, and they were just appointing whoever is beneficial to the regime. It's not about the public interest. In case if you are appointing somebody who is not a career diplomat, then that person has to be matchable with the career diplomat who is supposed to be there.
Someone who can represent the country.
It's all about representation. And what I feel is in the past there were a lot of laggings and a lot of problems, and we feel that because within last 36 hours I was able to have bilateral discussions with 9 countries, representation from 9 countries. So with certain countries, when you discuss, you feel that they know the topic, they know where they are heading to, and they're the flag carriers, they are the envoys.
They are very professional.
They are very professional,
and
they know they stick to the point. But what happened to the sector in the past? So we, the last batch of ambassadors and high commissioners, those who were appointed, were 100% from the foreign service, but that does not mean we will stick to 100% foreign service ratio. In case if we have to appoint a non-foreign service officer, non-career diplomat, then that answer should be justifiable and a suitable person could be appointed. So I cannot comment on that as of now. So we have appointed 5 heads of the missions, and all 5 are from the foreign service. So there will be a few more will be appointed in the near future. So it depends upon the situation. Qualified people will be appointed.
So there are no nephews and nieces of any government minister in there. It's all professional people.
Nobody, because I would like to tell this to our spectators also, because this country had suffered enough. I think it's more than enough. We have suffered a lot. So now it's all about revival. It's all about renaissance, the term that we use, right? So in that basis, there is no time for any jokes. We have to be really serious and professional enough. So we believe we can reach the targets.
Now you have some very professional foreign envoys from countries like India, China. They know what they're about. They know what their governments want of them here in Sri Lanka. How tough is it to deal with such career diplomats, as opposed to there are obviously some diplomats who they don't have any agendas. They are quite, their governments are simply happy to have them here, and they don't have any real drive or target or anything like that. But when it comes to those countries which have a particular objective in mind, which is of course quite justifiable, how difficult is it to negotiate or discuss with them?
Well, I would. I don't have a straightforward answer for this, but they know what they are doing. That's the most important thing, and that is how a diplomat should be. So, because they are the envoys, they're the flag carriers, and they are on a mission, and they are assigned for something, and they have reached that target. So somehow they have to convince, and it's all about diplomacy. So failure in appointing proper heads of missions were also one of the primitive reason for the country to fall, because it's like this, Niresh. Now, a career diplomat, or maybe a diplomat, let's say an ambassador or high commissioner, or maybe even lower positions, let's say, they should not have any conflict of interest, because when you look at this field, this is something, if we have that conflict of interest, we cannot go forward. So if let's say an envoy is facing a discussion, and all of a sudden something about investments are coming in, so that envoy should think, okay, let me make use of this opportunity for the beneficial of my country. But at that point, if that envoy is thinking, why not I make use of this opportunity, then that's how things go wrong. Let's say, for one example, there's an opportunity that an envoy is facing. That opportunity creates a lot of foreign remittance. What if that foreign remittance is not coming to that country, and that is diverted to some other country?
So a lot of things
happen, and don't forget, one of our ambassadors was accused for selling the embassy building. Yes,
the story? Of course, that was a worldwide news. What a shame on Sri Lanka.
Worldwide headline news, I would say. So I don't think Sri Lanka will face any kind of situations. But then again, I have to be precise about the ratio. We will follow a very reasonable ratio in case if career diplomats wouldn't be appointed to certain missions. Definitely we will appoint justifiable, suitable people for those missions.
Suitable people, absolutely. Now, when you meet these ambassadors, high commissioners, and so on, now what we see, if there's a photo opportunity or they're on TV, you meet them. What we see is shaking hands and some nice statement being made, but there's a lot of hard work which goes on behind the scenes, isn't it? For starters, you have to do some research and prepare before you meet these people.
It's a different field. It's not only about English. I think to be in this position, the least qualification is English, I would say. It's all about loving the country. That's the most important thing, because we are assigned to achieve something for the country. Vice versa, even the other diplomats, the other ambassadors, high commissioners, even they are doing the same. So first of all, we should love the country. That's the most important thing, which was lacking in the past, which was not properly being followed. And come on, how can somebody do that? So in that case, first of all, we have to love the country. Secondly, it's all about the skills, homeworks. It's all about the body language. It's all about whatever the approach. And even with a translator, we can do the same thing. But knowing the language is an additional qualification. But let's say, as I told you, within last 36 hours, I was able to meet several diplomats, and among them, a couple of them could not speak English. They came with their respective translators, and we never had any problems. So it's not anything to do with language. One of the concepts, Niresh, what Sri Lankans were misunderstanding throughout was, they were thinking just because a person knows English, he's super qualified. I don't think so. English is a language. We need to know that. Okay. But then again, what if a person does not know it? That does not matter. Right? So there are many various ways that we can answer this question. So definitely, it needs a lot of homeworks and hard work, and we are into that. And so far, we are very successful. And since you brought up this topic, I want to emphasize something here. you know, the opposition, the so-called opposition, one of the accusations that they made against us is, NPP government will lose the foreign support. I think we are more successful than them within a very short time. We were able to cover most of the countries, and we were able to diplomatically handle so many problems, and we are successful so far. So it is all about number one, patriotism and diplomacy. So I think we have crossed that hurdle. Now it's all about redesigning the foreign service sector of Sri Lanka, which is a mandatory thing because we are an idle nation. We need to have a very super strong, foreign service. So there are many career diplomats who are well qualified. They were not given proper, opportunities. Many divisions were just, idle. They were not making use of it. And one example I would like to tell you, I won't mention the names of the countries here because I have to follow certain ethics. But then again, I can explain certain situations. A delegate from one major country paid a courtesy call, and we were having a very serious discussion in regards to one of the major projects. Apparently, the foreign ministry did not have any documents in regards to the project, which is supposed to be in foreign ministry. Okay, there are divisions. You have separate desks for each regions, and you have another division called Economic Affairs Division. So whenever certain investments or maybe lucrative projects come, it has to come through them. But none of the documents were there. Most of the discussions were unprecedented. So this is the status of the country that we took over. And then only gradually the circular also comes into the scene. You must be aware that any ministry or any MPs or any body related to the government, if they are not, we are not concerned about the opposition because that is their problem, but anybody who is related to the government, either it's governors or maybe district secretariat level, the state sector, or even MPs or ministries, whoever, if you are having any kind of conversations or any bilaterals with any missions, it's not a problem. But then again, you have to update to the foreign ministry and let the desk have a minute. So then, in case if somebody else will replace us, then they will have some kind of a document. Something is recorded. But that was not there in the past, because that is one of the reasons you won't believe many projects are resuming because we have started to work on them. That is one of the reasons, because most of these days, the biggest complaint that I get from many diplomats, many envoys, is that they say we wrote to this particular department and we don't have the replies. So decision making was utterly poor.
Absolutely. And you expect that the foreign service will have the courtesy to reply to a foreign mission.
Not only the foreign service, it's about the communication issue, even relevant departments. Let's say yesterday there was a discussion in regards to some sports MOU, which was supposed to be replied by the sports ministry for that particular mail, which is really important to the country. And in regards to something to do with the transport ministry in the past, some important projects. Even today there was a discussion about Hungarian soft loan to build a flyover in Gatambe, but it was delayed. So now what we are trying to do is we are trying to put everything in order, and by only putting these things in order, we can bring the country forward. So
now, Arun, when it comes to countries like India and China, we see that their diplomats are highly focused on economic affairs. They want to have these economic partnerships. There are investors coming here. trade, all that. They're highly focused and they're highly knowledgeable about these things. But in terms of our foreign service, we hardly heard of our foreign service playing a major role with regard to these, trade and investment and so on into our country. Why was that, and how are you all setting it straight?
They were not given proper opportunity, I would say. There are well experienced, well talented officers here, especially in terms of them being career diplomats. We have a fabulous service. Especially I have to remember late Honorable Lakshman Kadrigamar, and he is the main person, I would say, who redesigned the foreign service. So he recruited so many top class officers. But the problem is, during the past 10 years of the previous governments, they did not have any requirement to make use of these departments. I would not say zero. There were so many things taking place. That also due to the efforts of the officers, I would say. But then again, if you take as a whole, I would say it's very little percentage. So what we are trying to do is, we are trying to synchronize the ministries, so many departments, along with the Economic Affairs Division, and they're also doing a very good job. Very soon we'll be having a discussion with Minister of Industries or Deputy Minister of Industries, along with the Economic Affairs desk. We are trying to find markets for our natural resources by adding value to them, and especially when it comes to small industries, SME, so many things are there. And then one thing I have to inform you about one example. Now we were discussing in regards to oil imports from oil producing countries. So we discussed with Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar and Kuwait within a week, and that those discussions were organized by the Economic Affairs Division. So we are finding new markets for us to purchase, and vice versa. We can find new markets to sell our products. So like that, it's an ocean. So definitely NPP government will do its utmost to make use of these departments and to make it more efficient as possible, and to bring economic benefits to the country.
Now, one of the areas which many thought would be very tricky for the NPP government was India-China relations, because in the past we had some governments in Sri Lanka which swung towards China, others swung towards India, and of course we were sort of buffeted around by the global situations as well, the geopolitical situations. But the NPP seems to have done quite well at balancing these two powers and keeping Sri Lanka in its place of non-alignment.
As long as there are no conflict of interest, I think this is possible. It's not a hard task. But the diplomacy should be genuine enough. No, we can't be messing around. We can't be playing the fool here, because after all, it's about our country. So whatever beneficial to our country, we have to take into consideration, and balancing India and China is a vital requirement for the well-being of our country. But that does not mean we have to lose our sovereignty or anything like that. So it's all about diplomacy, and I think it is not a hard task. We were able to reverse certain things in regards to deals with India. Even certain things were put on hold, especially the ones that were discussed agreed upon by the former president. But then we were able to agree with certain agreements. We decided to pursue with certain agreements, and So it's all about diplomacy once again, and also with China, the same thing. But the only thing is this: we have to understand India is our closest neighbor. So they also do have this neighbor first policy. Let me tell you one good example. India does not export onions. So because on and off they have this rule, because if they don't have sufficient stocks, they stop the exports and they just use it for their own population. But I don't know whether you remember or not, around a year back, India had to relax certain policies to export onions to Sri Lanka because Sri Lanka was facing onion crisis. So like that, whether we like or not, though we being a very small island nation, India is our closest neighbor, which is an emerging superpower. Meantime, we cannot forget China also. China is also similar. The only thing is they are a little far away from us. India and Sri Lanka do share a lot of cultural similarities, especially when it comes to Sri Lankan culture, starting from Buddhism and cuisine, geography, so many things. So maintaining a proper relationship with India is really important, and their priority is about their safety. So we cannot be another, ground for tarnishing India's safety or anything similar to that. So we cannot be instrumental, which will hinder India's safety and security. So even President has clearly stated that during his Indian visit. So, but meantime, if you talk about China, that is something different. They do also have their interest. We do have our interest. So it's about once again, it's about negotiations, and it's about going forward with both these countries. In this multipolar world, we will have to work with everybody. The world is not anymore bipolar, and the world is not anymore unipolar, because there was a different situation after the end of Cold War until 9/11 attack. The world was almost unipolar, but the post 9/11, the world has become multipolar, and it's only through proper diplomacy we can win the world.
Now, we saw two highly successful visits by the president, first to India, then to China. Which countries is he looking at next?
Where do you think? Any guessing?
I wouldn't hazard a guess,
Yeah,
really.
he'll be going to UAE this month.
Right.
And we do look at that visit as a very important one, because, India being the closest neighbor and, non-aligned, but some could say non-aligned India first policy, maybe they can give names to whatever the policies, that does not mind. And then since China being a very important stakeholder in our progress and developments and a lot of restructuring and things. So once again, we had to choose China. And then UAE being, as once again, a Middle Eastern Asian country, a very strong economy. And so far we were unable to attract a lot of investors from UAE. And there were, a couple of bad experiences that they had also, especially when it comes to Etisalat and companies. One or two companies had very bit experience in Sri Lanka by, after they invested. So they had this request to pursue with the investor protection agreement. The MOU has been signed a couple of days back. So we are looking forward to economic developments, by bilateral agreements with UAE. So that is one of the main destination. By next week he'll be visiting, I believe. And also there's a very huge overseas foreign worker community in UAE. So that is also one of the important things. So UAE is the next stop.
Right. So after UAE, anything in the works?
Even today we got one invitation I don't want to disclose the country, a European nation. Many are inviting, and especially with USA also, we would like to have a very strong tie. So far we are okay, and then more than anything, we are very satisfied because we don't carry anything personally. We do this for the country's benefit, and ultimately it's the satisfaction that is left. And I want to mention this when it comes to President's India visit and China visit, and also the next UAE visit. So when it comes to India and China, very few people went with President. It's not like, those days we saw a flight full of people, used to charter flights and so many stories, but the country cannot afford anymore. So most of the time, we only take the air tickets. President also had disclosed that recently. So similar thing will be applicable for UAE visit also. There will be a very small delegation, especially the President is going, and the Foreign Minister will go, and that is part of the journey always. And somebody from Ministry of Finance or Industry, so one or two cabinet ministers may join, and from the ministry, from the relevant desk, few important individuals will go. One or two members from the division of protocol may go, and one or two individuals, those who will be in charge of his security, will go. And I think, and also additionally, if we need, we can take maybe one or two media individual from the President's media. So I think this team is adequate. And that's how it used to be, when the President took over the office. And definitely this will be the trend.
Excellent. We're going to take a short break now. We are in conversation with Arun Hemachandra, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Employment. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Companies play better politics than the politicians of today.
We are not supposed to play with the people's expectation. Then it will be a huge disaster.
When you're bankrupt and when you're going to bankruptcy, two different.
The grandfather is saying it is going to take this long. What does he know?
It's about the lack of sense of humor in Sri Lankans.
Issues that matter the most. Unfiltered discussions. Real answers. Face to face. Monday to Thursday at 8 p.m. on TV1.
ඒගොල්ලන්ට මේ අපිට කියන්න බෑනේ මේ අනේ හාල් ටික හොයලා දෙන්න කියලා.
අහන ප්‍රශ්නේ තමයි උත්තර දෙන්න ඔබතුමාට අහපු ප්‍රශ්නෙට.
ඌ බලාපොරොත්තු කන්දක් දීලානේ ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ.
සදාකාලිකව ඒගොල්ලන්ට කොරායි කිඹුල්ලු බල ඉන්න පුළුවන්.
ජනතාව බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම ශනික යම්කි සහනයක්.
දැනට තියෙන රජයයි ඒ තිබිච්ච රජයන අතර අහසට පොළොව වගේ වෙනසක් තියෙනවා.
මොකද අපි දැක්ක මීට පෙරත් ඔය ජවනිකාව අපි දැක්ක ඔය නාට්‍ය අපි දැක්කා.
කලබල වෙන්න එපා රොෂාන්. අපි ඔය වගේ ප්‍රශ්න කරන්න ආචාර්ය උපාධි සහතික නැතුණා කියලා කියන්න පුළුවන්ද?
අත එක පැහැදිලි කිරීමක් කරන්න අවශ්‍ය ඔබට තීරණය කරන්න පුළුවන්.
අපි හැමෝම එකතු වෙලා මේ රට හදමු.
දවස සතිය දිනවල සවස 6:30ට.
Our development era kickstarts from 2002-2005.
If you're off duty, right, you're entitled to do what you want. And Niresh, whether it's pluck coconuts or whether it's scraping the coconuts, they have the freedom to do that.
By having taxes on imports for the food on the poorest of the poor is a big problem.
I think economic inclusion of the rural people is very important to keep the economy going.
Government and state are two things. So time to time we need restructuring. We can't go on. That is the main reason why NPP won.
Face the Nation every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. on TV1.
Welcome back to Face. We are in conversation with Arun Hemachandra, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Employment. Now, Arun, let's talk a little bit about something that's sort of an elephant in the room, which has been there for more than a decade, and that is our visits to Geneva to face these human rights issues and so on. It's been a recurrent theme, and usually Sri Lanka doesn't come off looking very good. We have had governments which simply went there and fought with the rest of the world. We have had governments which went there and bent over backwards to the rest of the world. What is the NPP government's policy? How are we going to handle this?
I think the only way to handle this is, handling it genuinely. And how to do it genuinely is by making national unity, giving priority to that. So I think you must have felt the difference in the country in terms of national unity once this president took over, and especially after the new government. So we are trying to make national unity in the country. And don't forget, this is the only party which won outright in the country. The only district that we missed is Batticaloa, and that was also not a political reason. It was something to do with we missed it, I would say. If we have done groundworks properly, we would have won Batti district also. But the more homeworks would have made us win Batti also. So overall, we won the entire island, and this is the first time the north, east and the central hill country people came forward and chose one single party, which is the winning party. Because the trend used to be not that. Whoever is winning in the south or the western parts of the country, in the other region they used to lose. So now people have chosen us, and we also have given so many hopes to the people. And if you see the National Day celebrations that took place all over the island, you could feel. And the so-called minority, I would not say minority, I don't like to use that term, but the so-called the minority, according to the statistics or whatever, they started to feel safe in this country. But of course, I would say this is not an outright revolution. We have taken over the power through democratic means. We have taken over the power by elections. So we cannot change everything that took place for last 77 years. So we are gradually changing. The only thing is we have to look into this in a different way, whether the change has started or not. This is a transition period. So the change is taking place. People are starting to love each other. There's no room for racism. And previously, when it comes to Geneva, in order to balance the Geneva situation, they used to exploit the situation in the country. They used to spread racism among people. They used to divide and rule. And just by satisfying a certain number of people, it's vice versa. It could be from the Tamil political party setup, it's the same, and also when it comes to the government, that's the same. So both these stakeholders were making use of the situation. But then again, now there's a new government, new hopes, and we are trying to sort out many problems that were, hindering the reconciliation process. And I'm very happy. Missions, the head of the missions and ambassadors, those who come for discussions are very happy with the progress. They're satisfied, and maybe there may be certain things that we have to even adapt more, I would say that. But then again, overall there's a satisfaction. So now it's all about, I would say, redesigning and going forward. So we are committed, we are working so hard on that. Let's see.
Well, you are in a unique position to know the pulse of the Northeast, because you were born and bred in Trincomalee. You represent the Trincomalee district, and you are trilingual, genuinely so, because you do so many interviews with our Shakti news team and Sirasa as well as TV1. So you are in quite a unique position. Right. So let's talk a little bit about global affairs. Now, the world is going through an interesting time, to put it mildly. There are wars going on. Ukraine is raging. The Gaza war, well, there is a ceasefire, but it is certainly still up in the air what's going to happen. And then, of course, you have this trade war, which has suddenly erupted between the United States and many other countries, including US and China, US and Europe, and so on. What's your view, the global view, and should Sri Lanka have any concerns? What is our position on this?
Well, it's crucial, but then again, we can overcome the situation because, especially my only worry is, when it comes to, if wars are continuing in the world, the price hike and so many problems and so many families will lose their relatives, belongings, and those things are there. And when it comes to Sri Lanka, if we can handle the situation in a right way, by once again, applying the proper diplomacy, we can overcome the situation. And so far we are fortunate, we don't have any risk situation in this country. But then again, there were certain news about certain Sri Lankans being deported from USA, and also
I think about 3,000 names.
Around 3,000, and also about stop of fundings for certain projects, especially when it comes to USAID related. So, direct USAID, and through USAID there are certain other projects that are being run. So maybe, we may have to face a little bit of a hardship, but then again, we have to face the situation because it's something new. And I don't want to comment much deep on that because, since I am from Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I would like to have some limitations on discussing these things because, whatever the comments that we give, that has to be aligning with our foreign policy. So even we contacted formally, and also when we meet certain envoys in certain events, we should discuss. So in regards to what's happening in US, even nobody is much clear about that. Certain decisions are being reversed, certain decisions are being imposed, certain people have been deported, and for deporting they don't have to contact our missions overseas, especially in US. So things are happening. We have to face because after all it's to do with their policies. But whenever there is a grave situation which will, have a major impact on our country, definitely we will have to deal with it in the right way. So let's see. I think it's too early to predict on anything. Certain things may not be serious as they seem to be, but if certain things may be more serious than what it is. So it depends. I think it's too early to comment on that. And let's wait for some time. Let's wait for certain official communications. And also, like one example I would like to emphasize here. Around 2 months back, when I took over the office, the deputy ambassador of the United States, he came to meet me, and one of the proposals from their side is to recognize the same-sex spouse, the same-sex partner as the spouse. That was one of his prime requests to the government of Sri Lanka. So just like husband and wife, the same-sex couple also should be accepted, and that was their request. But with the current President Trump's policies, even they are in a confusion stage. So things like this do happen in world on and off. When a leader comes into power, he may change their policies, rules and regulations, and their foreign service also has to be aligned according to that. So then the problem comes whether it is acceptable or not. It is, after all, it's to do with their rules and regulations, and we cannot comment anything on that. And when they have any kind of official communication with us, we are in a position to answer. And if we have any doubts to be clarified, we can contact them. So that's how it works. So let's see. I think it's too early to comment on that, and it will take some time for them to pass by, and then when they are firm with their policies and decisions, and then we can predict. But one thing I just got to know, I was in a discussion before I came here with one of the prominent ambassadors. A set of people, maybe a full flight load of people, have been deported to that particular country. It was told by him to me. So let's see. It's too early to predict anything. Things are happening, as I told you. Certain things may seem to be not happening, but it may happen, faster than what we thought. Certain things may not be grave as how it seems to be. So we have to just wait and see. But as long as they are illegal immigrants, the respective countries do have their rights to take decisions on their own. So we cannot comment anything on that.
But as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, so far with this new administration in the US, so far so good.
So far so good,
No
but
issues.
only problem is, in regards to certain fundings that has been halted. So, that leads to certain situation. Those are actually like collateral damages, not directly. Indirectly, the damages used to happen, because though we do not have any diplomatic, discussions, or maybe through communication, when they stop the funding, automatically the children, or maybe those who are benefiting out of those projects, will get affected. So it's something unusual that we are going through, but let's see. Definitely US Embassy will have to come up with their plan, and when they are properly coming up with their plan, definitely we are ready to communicate with them and to handle this situation, as per the situation.
Right. So let's move on to your other portfolio, foreign employment. And this is extremely crucial, because our economy is not going to rebound for quite some time. It's slow and steady increasing, but it's not going to get back to the pre-COVID era or whatever for quite some time. And foreign employment is one of those areas which can quickly bring us a lot more foreign exchange. Traditionally, we've had our workers in the Middle East and also in other countries like South Korea. What plans do you have in this area, foreign employment?
Naresh, foreign employment has been always a product of crisis in Sri Lanka. It is not something that has been developed according to the plan. It's a product of crisis, and that is unusual. And only thing is, when it is a product of crisis, we cannot handle certain situations, and especially when it comes to people leaving the country on visit visa and working. So when they have problems, they are not bureau registered, and we cannot do anything unless otherwise we do something through the mission. So it is a confusing and complicated situation. So all what my advice to those who are leaving, leave through the proper channel, get yourself registered. That is the mandatory thing. So don't take any shortcuts. There are a lot of complaints in regards to so many things. Certain people have ended up in mercenaries, and certain people have ended up in deserts. Certain people are they're uncontactable. So many issues are there. So don't take that risk, and always get yourself registered at the bureau. On the other side, we have to value the importance of foreign employment at the moment, because the foreign remittance that we got through the foreign employment sector during the first 8 months of 2024 is higher than the entire IMF program. So meaning to say, it is important at this present situation. But the main aim should be sending people according to their qualification, and developing their skills is the most important thing. So far, if you take Sri Lanka as a whole, the unskilled workforce was the main part of the foreign employment. But this government has taken a firm decision that we will be focusing entirely on the skilled workforce. So we have to expedite the process of giving NVQ certificates as quick as possible. We have to hold the exams that have been kept on hold. So there are so many things to be addressed. So we have started, and more than anything, I would tell an unpopular comment here. Though I, being the Deputy Minister of Foreign Employment also, in my opinion, why people are leaving this country, it's because of the crisis. So when we address the crisis and when we start developing the nation, the need for the people to leave this country will be much lower. And after that, let the people decide if they really want to leave this country and work somewhere else, that is up to them. But the prime goal has to be, the overall economic development, and not entirely promoting the foreign employment. Foreign employment has to be promoted at the moment. We have to focus on certain things. If you look at the irregularities that has taken place in the past, that is unimaginable and it's unexplainable. The previous minister has signed agreements, MOUs, with provinces of certain countries. Those were not brought to the embassies or the missions, and those were not sent to the cabinet approval. So how can a minister sign agreements like that? And what is the job security these people get? So E8 problem was created, and then with Israel, we had a very huge job quota. Unqualified people were sent. I'm not referring to everyone as unqualified, but then again, vast number of people, workers, those who were sent to Israel, were unqualified. And during a discussion, that particular officer who came on behalf of the Israel PIBA, the Population Immigration Border Authority, she was requesting for us to cancel all the list that has been provided by the previous minister, because they are not satisfied. Because unqualified people have been sent, overqualified people have been sent to the positions that cannot be handled by them. Especially an IT professional has been sent for farming jobs. And how can an IT professional handle farming job? That is unimaginable, right? So they say, if you want to send farmers or the farm assistants, farm workers, train them. We have to send in that way. Just in order to face an election or win popularity, I send this much of people, that is not how it works. So we have to focus on certain things, and we are discussing with certain other organizations and countries where we can win more and more government to government opportunities. And also I visited the Foreign Employment Bureau around a month and a half back, and my visit was due to a complaint that was brought to me in regards to certain irregularities that took place. So I was going through the computers and checking all the mails and the communications, and so to see they were using MS Excel format. So one of the allegations were, certain names were deleted during the past government time. And I myself tried that, and I deleted certain names and saw that was working. So there was no transparency. And after that, what I did was, we called for an inquiry, and the Bureau was asked to take a board decision to organize and redesign the Bureau software. So we contacted the University of Moratuwa, especially the IT section. So they also came forward and they also gave us a good plan. So now it is in process of developing a new software for the Bureau. So so many things are there, and foreign employment is need of the hour. That is, we cannot underestimate. The country is actually running without major issues due to the foreign employment sector and also tourism, and both these are coming under our ministry. So we are pulling a very huge load.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'm afraid we are out of time tonight. Thank you very much to Arun Hemachandra, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Employment, for spending this time with us. And thank you to you at home for watching. Don't go away because the news is coming up next. Have a great evening. Good night.